In today's video, I'm going to take you behind the scenes of a recent commercial shoot that I shot on my Sony FX3 paired with the Desio Vespet Primes. And in the end, I will also share the final film, so if you're interested in that, make sure to stick till the end. I'm going through all of these chapters. The biggest one is probably going to be the shooting and gear, because this is the focus of today's video, because I have a lot of behind the scenes footage that I want to share. So lean back and enjoy. And this shoot was special for me because this was my own project, means my own client. And also I did everything from the initial idea over scripting, producing, shooting, and even the editing. We had a fairly small crew with 4 people plus 2 talents and just 1 car load of equipment. I'm going to share exactly how we used what kind of gear later. But anyways, this was a special shoot for me in terms of my own productions, because it was one of the bigger shoots and something I can put on my role as a DP. Because oftentimes I'm on big sets with big crews, but it's not something I want to put on my role because it's either no commercial or I'm not DPing it. But this is what I want to do. I want to become a commercial cinematographer, and this project that I'm going to share today gave me exactly this opportunity. Most of my other client work projects are just social content or corporate talking heads and stuff like that, which are also fun and I will still keep on doing, but I am always excited for new challenges, which is why I want to create higher end commercials with bigger crews in order to create creative and outstanding shots that help to shape a better end result. So the video we shot was for Solago. Solago is a solar company that was just founded last year by 2 young men, and they now need to show that they are a solid business. And with this video, what we wanted to do is to build up trust with the viewer and also show all the way from the initial consultation over to the building process when you have the solar panel at your home. The budget wasn't too big, which only allowed for a small crew and a small equipment rental, which also gave us some limitations in camera movements, because camera movements always costs more. So I decided to stay pretty basic with the camera movements and add the dynamic in the edit. More on that later. I also decided to put more budget into the crew, as this helped us to shoot everything in just one day, which again saved money for my client. As I mentioned in the beginning, the crew was fairly small with 4 people and 2 talents. I did the directing DP, and we had Max as our gaffer, Leo as camera assistant, and Lucas on our behind the scenes. And regarding talent, we had one of the founders, Yannick, and his dad. We started the day with an 8 AM call time and finished just in time at 6:30 PM. We had 2 locations, the company and the house of Yannick's dad. Okay, this is going to be the biggest part, as I guess that this is the most interesting part to the most of you. But please let me know down below in the comments what part interests you the most, and I can take that information with me in another video. Regarding gear, we kept it pretty small and decided to do everything on sticks or with an easy rig. We shot most of the time on the easy rig because it is not only quicker, but it also fitted the vibe of the film pretty good. We shot on my Sony FX3 with the Desio Vespet Primes, and this is pretty much the basic setup that I use for all of my client work projects, with my Nucleus Nano follow focus side handle. And I would have loved to rent a video transmission and first AC kit to have Leo pulling focus for me, but we ain't had no budget for that. So this was also one reason why I decided to stay pretty basic with camera movement, as focusing and operating the camera can become really difficult, but with basic movements it's not too hard. We shot most of it at a T4, which is still a beautiful look on the Desio Vespets, but at T2.8 or even a T2.1 it would have give this an even softer and more beautiful bokeh, but as I was pulling focus myself, I opted for that T4 because it's easier to stay in focus. We also rented the Tilta Matbox T12 with 4x5 ARRI FS-NDs to control the light. I really enjoyed the workflow with fixed NDs actually, and I really didn't want to use my Tilta Mirage VND, as this got a green tint on it as well as cross pattern on the wider focal length. I'm going to make a video about that soon, so if you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe. Talking about focal length, we had the 21, 35 and 75mm. We really used all of the focal length, and in my opinion it turned out really smooth, and it definitely helped to shape the dynamic in the edit in the way I imagined it. We also rented some 150 Watt-hour V-mounts, and I know that's really not that exciting, but this really helps to balance out that rig just a little bit more. And with just 2 of them we got through the entire shoot. For the tripod I used my Sachtler Active 10 head on my Manfrotto fast clip legs, and this combo works just great. That fluid head is really strong and can easily handle that payload. Now talking about lighting. We had 2 Aputure 1200Ds, 2 Aputure 300Ds, a Light Dome 2 that we didn't use, a Fresnel 2X, a spotlight mount, an Amaran F22 that we used mainly with a boom, and then a couple of smaller lights like a Nanlite Pivot Tube and Aputure MC. This is pretty much it what we worked with. Oh, and we had one small flag to use it as a really small negative. Here again, I would have loved to work with a giant negative, but we had no more space in the car and also no more budget to rent out a van or whatsoever. Anyways, I'm super happy with what we were able to accomplish with what we had, and especially with the weather conditions. This was really tough. We shot a solar commercial, which means we want a sunny feeling, but on that day it was just cloudy and it even rained when we did that outdoor scenes. But there wasn't any other chance than shooting it this way. And in the final result, I'm super happy with how everything turned out. Regarding the shoot, I have 2 major things that I want to focus on, and the first one is an indoor scene at the company, and the second one is at the outdoor scene where we are building that solar panel. In Solago City, that's how they call it, we have pretty warm lights, something around 3500 Kelvin, and we still had some daylight coming in through the windows of the houses inside of Solago City. We had the 1200Ds up in the air and pretending to be a sun, and we have also put some CTS in front of it in order to match the warmer lights of Solago City. And just when we filmed that close-up portrait shot, we really saw how ugly the mixed lighting was, and we decided to cut that out and use a warm light to light that space in the background. The first problem was that we had no big negative to cut out that light, so we ended up taping cardboards in front of the windows to cut the lights completely, and it worked just fine. But the second problem was that we already filmed that wide shots of that scene and we didn't have time to reshoot them. So I had to deal with that in the post, and here's how it looks before correcting and after correcting. And what I did to correct it was basically just to create a power window in DaVinci and add some warm tones to the highlights. Here we had one tricky situation though, because Yannick was walking through that power window and he would end up exposing that power window. So what I had to do is to key him out and put him on top of the clip with the power window. And this worked extremely good, and I was super happy with how easy the tracking function of DaVinci Resolve works. The second tough situation was when we were outside to build that solar panel, because we really needed some warm tones and some sunny feelings. And guess what? It rained. And in some moments it rained harder than in other moments, but the sky was just gray all the time. For the actual building part, we just used a small place inside the garage, which turned out to be one of my favorite scenes. We didn't plan to use this location as we had no location scouting, but it ended up being perfect for that scene. We lit this scene with a 300D and Fresnel to spot the light a little bit more, and a 1200D to flood the background and create some texture on the bag. To fill and also key our talent, we had an Amaran F22 inside, and we burned some cardboard to haze the room because we had no hazer. For the look, it worked just fine, but we had only a couple of minutes as this wasn't the healthiest idea, but it did the job. And what we did outside is to use both of the 1200Ds as our sun and try to get the best possible image out of that situation. And I have to say, I'm impressed with how the end result looks. Especially that ending scene with that drone shot was super tricky, because a drone shot on a bad day, you can't really fake something. But we used this 7x zoom of the DJI Mavic 3 Cine, and the fake sun kind of pulled it off. In the edit I wanted to add the dynamic, because our shots were all really basic and didn't had a lot of camera movement. So what I did here was to pair wide and calm shots with quick cuts of really close-up shots, and paired with a little bit of sound design, it worked out pretty good. Here you can see that we kind of have chapters in the film, and we always use those quick cuts to go from chapter to chapter. Then we are pairing it with the voiceover and we are done. And I know this is a really rough go-through of an edit, but the focus of today's video was on the behind the scenes. And now without further ado, please like, subscribe and everything. And now watch the final film. Hope you enjoy it.
Was ist unser Antrieb? Warum machen wir das, was wir machen? Weil wir die Energiewende voranbringen wollen. Mit Solarenergie den eigenen Ökostrom erzeugen. Individuell und angepasst an jede Situation. Egal ob im kleinen oder großen Stil. Ganz einfach mit dem richtigen Partner. Den ersten Schritt in die richtige Richtung machen. Die Dinge selber in die Hand nehmen. Und dabei natürlich alles im Blick behalten. Für eine bessere Zukunft.